Hi, my name is Michael Bartz from the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence, and today I'll report partial results from our ongoing research project called GEAR, in which we collaborate with the educational sciences and the didactic groups of Saarland University. The topic of our paper and of this work is digital pen features predict task difficulty and user performance of cognitive tests. And we have students from elementary school as our target group in this work. So why are digital pens interesting for being used in education? So first, they enable immediate digitization of handwritten contents. Second, they can be integrated seamlessly in the classroom or at home, for example, when doing homework. And novel pen technology is really unobtrusive. As you can see on the image on the right, they look like usual ballpoint pens. And this is even more important than having children as a target group because they can be even more distracted by obtrusive technology. Another point is that digital pen signals were also shown to be predictive for cognitive load, affective states such as emotion, expertise. There was work on predicting math expertise of students. And altogether, this renders digital pens promising technology for multimodal learning analytics and technology-enhanced adaptive learning. In this work, we conducted a controlled user study in which we asked children to perform cognitive tests with a digital pen. Hereby, we varied the difficulty of the tasks in a within-subjects design. Later on, in a post-hoc analysis, we used machine learning to model first the user performance and second the task difficulty. The user performance reflects the typical matrix used for the respective cognitive test, and the task difficulty depends on the different levels of the cognitive tests. For the user study, we invited 36 students from an elementary school that are around 10 years of age. We manipulate the difficulty of tasks from two cognitive tests in a within-subjects design. The tests include the trail-making test, or short TMT, and drawing patterns from the Snijders-Oomen Non-verbal intelligence test, or in short, SON. For the TMT, the children must connect dots in ascending order. The easier version, the TMT-A, includes digits from 1 to 15. The more difficult version, the TMT-B, includes digits and letters that must be connected in an alternating manner, as shown in the figure. These are also 15 nodes in total, but as you can see, it's 1A, 2B, and so on until all nodes are connected. For the SON test, the children must fill in the missing part of a line pattern, and we include 6 patterns with increasing levels of difficulty. So for each of the tests and for each level, like TMT A and B and the 6 SON patterns, we record one file with a digital pen recording. We call these recordings a sketch. So each recording is a sketch that contains a list of separate strokes. And each stroke is a list of time-stamped 2D coordinates and pressure information from the pen. In the image, you can also see a replay of a trail-making test recording. And from these recordings, or from these sketches, we now extract a set of 165 features for machine learning purposes. Here you can see an overview of some of the features that we used. We use a machine or feature extraction library for sketches from GitHub that we open sourced 2 years ago. And finally, each sketch is represented as a feature vector of size 165. Our goal in this work is to predict the task difficulty and user performance for both cognitive tests. The task difficulty is defined by experiment design, and this includes 2 levels for TMT, A and B, and the 6 patterns from the SON test with increasing difficulty. For this, we use classification models that shall predict the task difficulty D, which is either 0 if the task was easy, or 1 if it was difficult. For SON, this means that the patterns 1 to 3 are marked with or labeled with easy, and the other ones with difficult. The user performance is measured based on our recordings. For the TMT, we consider time, which is also the actual evaluation metric of the official manual. And for the SON tasks, we consider time and the pattern coverage. Coverage is also a common evaluation metric, but usually it's evaluated manually using a reference pattern that's printed on a transparent foil and with a binary output. So it's either correct or not if there were too many errors, or if there was a deviation at one point that was too large. And we implemented here a fully automatic evaluation with a continuous output. So you can see a sample output on the right hand side, which corresponds to approximately 70% of coverage. So this is a much more fine-grained evaluation metric. So as you can see, both performance metrics are continuous, and therefore we use regression models in this case. For all settings, we train models for TMT only, for SON only, and test the cross-test performance if that's possible. We also consider joint model training. That means that we include samples from both tests in model training and evaluation. So how do we train these models? You might have noticed that 165 features are quite a lot. This is particularly increasing the probability of overfitting on the dataset. For this purpose, we test two different feature selection methods and concatenations of them in order to reduce the number of features prior to model training. One of them is based on correlation to the respective prediction target. This means if a feature correlates with, for example, task difficulty in the classification case, we remove it from the dataset. Another one is based on collinearity reduction. We use the variance inflation factor here. So whenever the variance inflation factor is greater than 10 for a feature, we remove it from the dataset until there is none left. We also perform model selection using a nested cross-validation, so 5x2 cross-validation. For doing in the inner loop, there's a grid search going on for parameter optimization, and the outer loop estimates the generalization error of the model. We use different models and different parameter ranges for this purpose, and we include SVMs and general gradient boosted trees, and then respectively the classification and the regression methods of these models. Here you can see a summary table of our results for the prediction of the level of difficulty. And we report the classification results in terms of accuracy. I'll now go through the most important findings in that table. Well, first of all, we can pretty much distinguish between easy and difficult task levels for each cognitive test using all the 165 features. But these models do not generalize well to the respectively other tasks. For example, if we use the TMT model for SON samples, the performance is quite exactly at the chance level, which is 50% for this binary classification. This also means that we heavily overfit to the test, to the respective cognitive test. So what if we use samples from both tests for training? Well, as you can see here, the models perform much better than if they had not seen the data beforehand. But what about the feature selection methods? What we found is that the correlation-based selection method reduces the number of features to 52, which is like 1/3 approximately, but the model still performs more or less with the same level of accuracy or gets much better. In particular for the support vector machine, the SVM, it gets much better. We can also further reduce the number of features, but this results in a drop of accuracy. But this is when using combinations of the feature filters or feature selection methods, or just using the variance inflation factor based feature selection. To give a number, the least number of features we had was around 10 to 15 features. One other finding is that the gradient boosted tree seems to be much more robust when used with a high number of features. So this could be seen, or proof for this is that the SVM benefits more from the feature selection, which reduces the number of features. This is a summary of our results for time prediction models. Interestingly, the results are quite similar to the classification models. This means that using all features, we can predict the time better than the mean baseline. Second, the models do not generalize well to samples from the unseen test, so that's also the negative point that's similar. The joint model training helps, and the correlation-based feature selection improves the performance a lot. So the mean baseline that I mentioned just predicts the mean from the training set, and this is for the TMT, or the MSE score for the TMT is 684. For the SON it's 740, and for TMT plus SON it's 776 for reference. And the R2 score is always 0. What about the coverage for the SON test? We found no model with better accuracy than the mean baseline here. So unfortunately we cannot report that we have a good model for this part. Of course, we have still remaining challenges in this field. So one is, for example, that the models might still overfit to the dataset. So even for the joint model training, it might just train a model that overfits to both datasets, which are similar in nature. So there's like drawing patterns in both cases. So one solution would be to collect more data for validation. And this also includes that, or this is also required when transferring models to other tasks in education. Another point is integration in technology-enhanced adaptive learning. So this is just a technique for modeling the current difficulty of a task and for modeling the user's performance in that task. But it does not help in giving feedback based on these measures that we could now predict. One example here would be that a teacher, or to give feedback to a teacher, maybe in terms of a dashboard, which enables the teacher to give much more targeted interventions also for homework, which is currently completely unseen. Another point is we could also combine this with other modalities in the field of multimodal learning analytics. And this is also what we will do in the GEAR project. We will combine this with eye tracking. Okay, to summarize our work, we performed a user study in which we asked children to perform 2 cognitive tests, and we varied the levels of difficulty of these tests. Then we systematically tested different machine learning models to predict the user performance and the task difficulty. For doing that, we presented an automatic coverage metric for the SON patterns. We included a comprehensive set of 165 pen features in our analysis. You can find the link to our library computing all these features on GitHub. Third, we can successfully predict the task difficulty and the completion times, in particular when staying within a task, but also for joint model training. And our proposed feature selection works. Unfortunately, we could not find a model that effectively predicts the coverage of the SON tasks. I hope you enjoyed the talk, and I thank you very much for your attention.